There hasn't been a year since I've done this video where I haven't been able to accurately diagnose everything Andy Reid's going to do in the preseason. But this week, Big Red's decided to throw us a curveball. Hey, Dave Loughran here. Glad you could join me for some preseason action. Yeah, call us degenerates, call you what we will or what you will, but we love doing this stuff. And each and every year we'll be right here on the Odd Shopper YouTube channel. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Leave a comment down below with your favorite plays for this Friday. Hasn't been a season we've done this that we haven't had a thoroughly enjoyable time. And as always, before we get into the plays, hit me up on Twitter at Loughy_D right there. And all of my picks, I put them over on Tails. They'll be free all preseason and all season long, going into the regular and postseason, whatever it may be. All you got to do, click that link. Takes 2 seconds to sign up. You could do it with Apple, Google, or create a login if you want, but it's free. And click follow. Set up notifications. Everything I do before I ever post a video here, before I ever throw a thread up over on X for all of my plays, will go there first, and then it will come here. And there will also be plays that if I'm not able to do a video or throw it on Twitter, it will be in there as well, free every time. So take 2 seconds out of your day, sign up, and hit me up on Twitter. Come say hi, and let's sweat some football. All right, only 2 games on Friday. Then we've got a lot of games. I'm already prepping for those, already have been on Saturday. I mean, we got a lot on Saturday. Typically, we have some type of relief with some Thursday games. Not this week. Titans -5.5, -5 in some spots against the Falcons in Atlanta. So interesting game here because the Titans and Falcons both held joint practices this week, which in many cases suggests that coaches aren't going to play many of their starters. At least this has been the theme for the past however many years. There's always exceptions to this rule though, right? And one of them is that coaches are taking a different, like not just one coach, but a lot of coaches are taking a different approach this season. They're leaning more into playing their starters in the preseason as to not get off to slow starts early in the regular season. There's some studies out there that show it prevents injuries, all that good stuff. The other reason is when you're a young coach with a rookie quarterback. And then the final and third reason is when coaches aren't satisfied with their team's performance in said joint practices. Well, it just so happens that Brian Callahan checks all of those boxes going into Friday night. And he already said that the starters are likely going to see a couple of drives here. They saw a couple of drives in week 1 as well. Actually, Cam Ward and the starters played midway into the second quarter. But if you're looking at that, it's a little bit misleading because Kyle Trask led a 17-play, 80-yard, 11-minute touchdown drive that basically ate up the entirety of the first quarter and worked into the second quarter. So wouldn't expect that again. Couple of drives makes the most sense. Plus, Raheem Morris already stated Michael Penix Jr. is not going to play, and Kirk Cousins likely isn't going to see any action either. That leaves us with Easton Stick and Emory Jones. Sure, Stick acquitted himself pretty well last week, but his overall body of work in the preseason is not something that suggests we should expect last week's performance going forward. And I'll tell you what, guys, I look at all of this and these first quarter spreads, they're not always going to hit. We know that. Like, what was it? Jacksonville last week. And you know, one of the crazy reasons for this, like totally out of our control, is you may have the perfect read on a game. You may have the perfect setup and it may still lose for myriad reasons. But one of the big reasons, and you'll notice this if you've watched any preseason games, is because a lot of these special team guys just suck, right? They're muffing punts and at their own 5, turning the ball over. We almost lost our Vikings bet because of that. Fortunately, we didn't. But yeah, that's just it's a way preseason goes. You've got a lot of ugly plays that can result in things going against us. But for the most part, these first quarter bets are actually pretty sharp plays in many cases, to the point where FanDuel doesn't even offer them. DraftKings, after the first couple of games last week, because we hammered them on it last year, they're not even, and I'm not saying because of me, but they're not even offering them. They're locking them and only offering the first quarter money lines. So I don't know. Callahan, the big thing for me, the biggest thing he stressed, if you look at any reports, is that the Titans' slow starts in joint practices, in preseason games, even in week 1, is a big problem for them, right? And he's emphasized that a lot lately, which puts us in a nice position knowing where the actual emphasis is for the Titans on Friday night. So this feels like the best time, in my opinion, the best spot here would just be to grab the first quarter line instead of the full game, because Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle were terrible in relief work last year. And Bet365 still has the Titans. It's the only book right now that has the minus half point first quarter at even money. I genuinely don't even know how long they're going to keep offering these, but for now they do. I'll tell you guys every week. Down below, link right there. Bet $5, $10 deposit, bet 5. Get $200 in bonus bets if Bet365 is in your state. Do yourself a solid favor and start building up your bankroll before the season even starts. Plus, they offer some great promos mid-season and throughout the season that we killed them on last year. So, 21 years or older to gamble. Gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But collect on those 200 in bonus bets with a $5 bet. Win or lose over at Bet365. Link is down there. All right, second and final game for Friday. Chiefs at the Seahawks. Seahawks are 3-point favorites. This one's gone back and forth for the reasons I'm about to explain to you now. The bad thing about Andy Reid, okay, is that you can never actually trust anything he says. The good thing about Andy Reid, in a sense, is that you can never trust anything he says because he's always stuck to the exact same script throughout the preseason. So what he says doesn't really matter. You just go by previous actions, which we have a long history of. Week 1, he says starters every year. Week 1, starters will play the first quarter. You know what happens? They play one drive. Mahomes, because they got fortuitous field position based on another bad turnover, threw one pass for a touchdown, and that was his entire game. And then in week 2, Reid says, we're going to play the starters for the first half. You know what happens? They play the first quarter, sometimes less. There's a bit of a problem this year, though, and you heard it at the top of the video. This is the first time Andy Reid, since I can remember, especially since I've done any preseason content, said that the starters, including Patrick Mahomes, might sit. He never says this in week 2, ever. Actually went back on his word from earlier in the week. And I went back and watched this presser from yesterday, and he said, there's a good chance he doesn't play, referring to Patrick Mahomes. And then he said, but we'll see how it goes. And then he went on to say, Reid, that the other 3 would get a lot of playing time this week. I don't know, man. Meanwhile, Mike McDonald for Seattle said that the Seahawks starters would play since Andy Reid has a history of playing his starters in week 2. So you think about this, it's like some type of script that they could only write if you were trying to piss off the handful of us who actually actually have the balls to bet the preseason. Just trying to mess with us. It's nuts. For what it's worth, though, McDonald did say later in the week that the starters would play, like they are playing. And I quote, I'm looking forward to seeing our team rip, whatever the hell that means. My guess, as usual, though, is 2 drives or 1 drive if they come out strong with a convincing scoring series, you know. But I like Drew Lock as a backup. One of the reasons we bet them last week against the Raiders was because, again, everyone piled onto the Raiders because Pete Carroll, hey, we're going to get our starters out there. 1 3 and out, and they were done for the game outside of Ashton Genty. And then, you know, Seahawks, not only did they cover, but they tied, right? I think that game ended in a tie. Easy cover, though. Not to say all of our spots hit last week. I'm not gonna memory hole all of that, but that one specifically was based on coach speak from Pete Carroll. But yeah, look, Drew Lock's a perfectly fine backup. He's been solid throughout his career in the preseason. Jalen Milroe has some intangibles. He can at least make the second half of this game interesting. And in Kansas City, you have Gardner Minshew, not a bad option. Chris Oladokun and Bailey Zappi, who was terrible last week. So it's pretty even between Lock and Minshew. And really, all of the backups, from what we know, it's pretty equal there as well. So I'm just going to go to Seattle here, -3. But this is only a half unit play for me because every season, I have Andy figured out. Seriously, every season we've done really well when we take a stand and bet these Chiefs games on or against them. But this one's throwing me for a loop because we've never seen this type of rhetoric, we'll call it, from Reid in the past. It's strange to think that he might deviate from what he's always done because Andy Reid's clearly a creature of habit. But there may be something bubbling up under the surface here with young players, this and that, where he really does want to get more work for them. So right now, I think laying 3 actually makes sense, knowing that we have confirmation the starters are going to play for Seattle. So half unit play here, Seattle -3. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching. As always, hit that thumbs up, subscribe before you go. Follow me on Twitter and come hang out on Tails. It's free. All of my picks there all season long. We'll see you back here tomorrow for a big one right here on the Odd Shopper YouTube channel. Bye-bye.